RED, run every day, something many of us have become very familiar with in the running world. So is it a physical benefit, a mental benefit, or both? Let's see what a long-term RED ultra runner thinks. Hello and welcome to today's show, the Ultra Running Podcast with me, Coach Marshy. Hope everyone is well. So here we are, today's show, and that intro right there talking about RED. Let's introduce today's guest. So welcome to the show, Owain. How are you, Owain?
I'm very well. How are you, Neil?
Yeah, no, I'm good. A little bit tired from doing this sort of cross-training part of the world as I'm out injured at the minute. So lots of weight training and sort of bike low impact training, but other than that I'm all right. So what about yourself? Big training weekend?
I had a long run on the Saturday with my dog, and then early work run Sunday because I was duty yesterday. So not overload of training, but it was enough to get me through the weekend really.
Excellent. So, Owain, just introduce yourself to us. Who are you sort of in your day-to-day life, and then sort of what's your involvement in running and what do you do in your running life?
Okay, I'm Owain. I'm a 43-year-old Royal Navy sailor, based in Plymouth. That's where I live now. I literally live on the edge of Dartmoor, a beautiful part of the world if you've never been there before. And yeah, I'm a runner. I've been running since 2009, when I went from couch to marathon, and I've been running ever since. And for the last, I suppose, over 2 years, 2.5 years now, I've been running every day, as well as still training for ultra marathons and racing.
Okay, so you're in the middle of a RED. You're currently on a RED run, and you say it's been going for over 2 years. So what day, on the day of recording this podcast, what day are we on now?
It's 927 today.
So 927 days in a row. When you think about that, and you think that in about 73 days, that'll be 1,000 days, how does that feel in your mind? Is that a big milestone? Is that something you thought you'd get to?
I never plan any of the milestones, or even the smaller ones. So every 100. I've never really aimed for it or planned for it. I never even planned for a run streak, to be honest. I just fell into it. So I've always taken each one day as it comes. That way, should something stop me, I'm not going to be as gutted as I could be if I set a goal. But knowing that my first comma is coming up, that's what they call it, the comma, the 1,000. It's going to be quite cool, I think. Looking forward to celebrating with a few people, quite a few people around the world are planning to do it virtually as well. So it'd be quite cool.
Oh, excellent. So I reckon I can be fit by then to do a bit of running that day. So I'll try and join in as well. That'll be awesome. So let's talk about that RED then. I've done a few. I've done it on 3 different years, in particular run for the whole year. That was kind of the aim of doing a RED in those particular years. So I suppose I did have more of a defined milestone, but I kind of knew it would end. You've sort of mentioned there that you haven't really set a goal. You never really set any milestones or build them up, say, because you know, if it then ends for any reason, that's okay as well. What made you carry on, and when did you realise you were on a run streak?
So I was racing the local half marathon, the Plymouth half marathon, with a friend of mine, supporting him, getting him round. And whenever I do a race or a long run, I always do a recovery run or 2 afterwards. It's something I've learned over the years. That's good for me. So as per my normal routine, that's what I did. I went out the next day, felt pretty strong. And then went out the next day after that, still felt strong. And by the end of the week, I was like, oh, I've just ran 7 days in a row here. Let's go again. And before I knew it, I was 100 days. I think it was my 100th day when I ran a 36-hour race. And I ran the next day after that. And I did a couple of miles, and I felt pretty good. I was like, it's all right. Might as well keep it going, see how we get on. And
Yeah, so lots to dive into there actually as well. And obviously you mentioned when you introduced yourself about running with a dog as well. What breed is your dog, just for the listeners?
He's 30-kilogram Springer Door, so he's half Labrador, half Springer Spaniel. So he's built like a lab, but has the mentality of a Springer Spaniel. Absolutely bonkers.
So he wants to be out.
Yeah, he loves that. He loves it. He'll go on my half-hour runs all the way up to 4-hour runs with me all over the moors. Any bit of running, he loves it. So
yeah, and I think obviously people that are dog owners, I mean, I have been in the past, and those dogs need to go out right every day. So why not do, especially when you've got an energetic dog by its nature, by his nature, he probably wants to be out and he's probably up for it. So you might as well do a bit of running with him, yeah?
Yeah, this is it. I mean, he's 2 years old now, so he's only been running with me for the last year. And it's a good excuse to take him out, especially on the long runs, because he gets a really good weekly run in, especially if I'm away working. So the wife only takes him out for the short walks during the week. So it's really good for him, and it allows, obviously, it's an excuse for me as well to say to the wife, I'm off for a few hours. I'll take the dog. He needs a long run. She's like, okay then. So she can't really complain. So yeah, I mean, it has helped having a dog, but I already done a year and a bit before he was able to run anyway. So it's just another additional excuse to get out there, really.
Yeah, no, cool. And I guess maybe on those days when it is a little bit harder and you're at home, I guess taking him out adds that to it as well. The fact that he's got to go anyway. So yeah, I can see how that's fun having a little companion out there with you all the time. So
I mean, the other thing as well is he doesn't complain. So I get to chat to him. I get to talk to him. He probably doesn't understand a word I'm saying, but that helps, the fact that I've got someone there, something there. If you want to, I've got another being to chat to whilst I'm on the long run. So he has to put up with me.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So rewind a little bit for me. So you're on 927 today, but you mentioned, before you knew it, you were at 100 days. And when you got to that 100-day mark, or even before it, what were the things that you started to notice about your life, and had anything changed, or was everything much the same, or had there been benefits to it? Obviously, physically you're outside. There was the idea of being outside, but what was it for you that you kind of noticed? Did things start to change?
Yeah, definitely. The main thing I've seen, and it's probably helped because I've delved into it a lot more since run streaking, is my recoveries. I'd probably say 100 times better than what it was. So even after 100-mile race, 36-hour race, or what have you, I'm walking down up and the stairs without looking like I've shit myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just walking up and down the stairs normally, which annoys a lot of people when they see videos of me boasting about it. And I think the fact that I've delved into the recovery side of things a lot more, and I've been a bit more disciplined on that, has helped with everything, because I don't strength train, I condition. I don't do warm-up drills or anything like that. I literally do a warm-up run and then do my training session and then do a warm-down run. That's all I do. That is my routine around my training, and I've not been injured for over 2.5 years now. Touch wood. Some of it may be down to luck, but I do generally believe the run streak has had a major part in that. My performances, I've improved. I'm back to PBs that I haven't touched since I first started smashing when I was younger, smashing out the runs way back way. So I've noticed that's helped at all, and obviously the mental benefits from it is amazing. 100%, probably the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah, so you mentioned the mental benefits. Obviously, I think I saw on one of your highlights reels on Instagram. You know, you talked about being outside for two years solid. That you've been out every day. You know, in those 2 years, and I guess that in itself is uplifting and gives benefit, right?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've got a treadmill, which I used to use in the past. It's serviced regularly, just in case, in case I'm not allowed to get out. But nothing has stopped me yet from being outside. So I don't understand why, if you've got the opportunity to go outside, why you wouldn't want to. Um, I understand some people may have body conscious issues. I know I've been there. But regardless of that, when you've got nature of the woods and the moors and everything else that I've got surrounded by me, really, there's no excuse not to be outside and utilising it.
Yeah, no, what a great place to live as well. My time down in your part of the world has been very limited, although there's some really good races in the UK down there. So I'm sure I'll be down at some stage. But, yeah, I totally hear what you're saying. When you've got that sort of nature around you, why not use it? And yeah, I mean, we're here in flat Cambridgeshire, so there's absolutely no hills for us. But for you, there must be plenty of benefits to living in a part of the world like that for the sort of you get the elevation without knowing it's there, really. It's just part of everyday living.
Yeah, I mean the southwest is just surrounded by hills. I mean you can't escape it. And when I started, I lived down in Cornwall when I started, trying to move in just across the Tamar to Plymouth. So my running has always been surrounded by hills. You could not escape it, and we know hills make you fitter, hills make you stronger. So you might as well embrace it. Um, Although when I first started, I had a nemesis of a hill, which first of all I got a little bit up, and then I walked the rest, and then eventually I conquered it over time. I was like, right, that's that one conquered. Let's go find another. Um, so hills have always been my friend. You got to make them your friend, whether they're bad or not. And because I'm surrounded by obviously the moors, the coastal path, southwest coastal path, it's a different beast altogether when it comes to hill climbing. So yeah, I'm fortunate to have all that around me.
Yeah, no, I'm sure we'll dive into that in a bit more depth in a second, actually. But just the last thing on your red. So 927 days, aiming for 1,000 now. It'd be silly not to. But when do you think this will end? Is it something that you'll just keep going with?
Yeah, I don't plan on stopping. Like I said, I take every day as it comes, and at the moment, I'm going to reap the benefits from it. And until someone stops me or tells me I can no longer run every day, I will find a way to run every day. Whether it's round the edge of a ship or on a treadmill or round the mess square. I will always find a way to fit in at least 10 minutes.
Yeah, no, awesome. That's awesome. I think looking at your journey through social media, that's sort of how we met, and looking at what you've been doing. That I was stopped in my tracks recently through it wasn't my red that had made me injured. It was just a long haul of an injury for me. But not doing it, I've noticed the difference, and my longest streak is 404. So less than half of what you've done so far, but all those benefits you mentioned, I can definitely echo that. And I think I will be back out there with you soon, and I will be a red runner when I'm allowed to be, for sure, and when I can just sort out this little tendonitis in my foot. So yeah, so last question on red, actually. What does your wife think?
I'll be honest here. So I got asked this in another podcast a couple of months ago. Same question. I think you've got to be truthful with the answer when it comes to this, because and you'll probably understand, without a supportive, if you want to put it that, be it wife, friend, family, or what have you, it'll make life a lot harder. Now, I would say 70% my wife is supportive of it, and the other 30% she resents me.
Yeah.
Because I've made mistakes. I have made mistakes during it. I've she feels she has to plan her day around my runs, even though that's not the case. I always plan my runs around family and work, etc., etc. Family always comes first, and then if I can, I will manipulate work to suit me for my running. So yeah, I've made the odd mistakes in the past, and she hasn't always been happy. But on the whole, she's still supportive of supporting what I do, and she knows the reasons why I do it. So yeah, that's the honest truth. There has been a couple of arguments in the past.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that. I think, there's been times, and I'm sure you've done it at stupid o'clock at night or stupid o'clock in the morning, just to make sure that it fits into that day, because the family day or whatever, even especially travel, international travel, if I'm going on a plane in the past when I've done it, it's always been I'm going to go running before I go to the airport, even if that is at 3:30 in the morning, sort of thing. So, I get it, and I get that planning element. And yeah, like you said, that supportive network, you need it. You're not going to be able to do it without it. But actually, good to know that mostly you've got a good support network there.
I mean, it doesn't matter whether you run every day or not. If you don't have that support, I mean, if you're single, okay, you can do whatever you want. But if you're in a relationship or you've got a family, you still need that support. You still need them behind you for when you do have those bad days, or when you're injured, or they need to try and have at least empathy. And sometimes they're the ones that will go, "You're going out for your run yet? What?" And that will be the kick up the bum. Yeah, I'll get my shoes on now, type thing. Where you just want to sit down sometimes, maybe. So I don't think it matters whether you're running every day or not. You need support behind you if you're in a relationship or family or what have you.
Yeah. So moving on to sort of the more specific ultra running world, I noticed recently you did a race sort of on the clock change in October, the 24+1. Just I am familiar now with the concept, only because I happened by chance in the last few weeks to be having a conversation with someone at my running club about a similar event to the one that you've done. So tell us a bit about that race. So you ran, it was a 24-hour event, but +1 because it was obviously on the clock change. So I get that, but what was the concept?
So your standard sort of timed event, so be it 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours, so forth and upwards, is a standard event that you get in the ultra world. And normally it's a case of running as far as you can or as many laps as you can within that time period. Now, that could be laps around a running track, as most major championships are. The World 24-Hour Championship, stuff like that. Round is called track. Or it could be a 10K off-road lap, like most of the major common 24-hour events are. The one that I did that weekend was around a banger racing track, motorsport track, down in Cornwall. So 0.17 of a mile of it was around the actual tarmac track, and then the rest of the half mile was around the area outside. So it was almost like a loop within a loop.
Yeah.
All in the same direction. So you didn't change direction at any point halfway through or anything like that. But there was strict rules to it. So you had to complete all 25 hours. So if you finished your lap at 24 hours and 59 minutes, you had to go again.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's classed as a DNF. Where some 24-hour races, it's do as little or as many laps as you want, which is great. There were loads of great events. It's a good toe into the ultra world and 24-hour racing and stuff like that. But this was strict rules. You had to carry a mandatory kit, even though you're going around a tiny lap and you've got your drop box and stuff. You had to, you couldn't sit down apart from getting medical treatment, or you're going for a poo in the you had to keep moving for the whole 25 hours. And then obviously thrown into that as all that, we had the 5-hour storm in the middle of the night as well, which was horrendous.
Yeah. So what sort of not that on an event like that distance is it's not a measurable as such, but what sort of distance did you cover in that sort of time?
So I finished 129 laps, which by the calculations of their calculations, it was 60 odd miles. So not my finest time. I had a major form. I was glad I finished in the end, but I think the winner only did 100 miles, which is not that many either for that type of race. So it just showed the conditions and sort of the mental endurance you needed for going around a banger racing track for 25
Yeah,
hours.
no, I did have a little look at your YouTube film that you made about that. So that is out now and people can look it out on your YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, it's up there.
Yeah, no, it's good fun. So I actually haven't done a race like that. So, kind of watching you do that type of race, it's inspired me. I have done lapped ultras, but they're more like a final distance. So it wasn't how many you could do. So, but yeah, the idea of running sort of so it was half a mile in total, right? That's a lot of laps, and mentality wise, that takes a lot of digging deep. And people talk about being out there up at the Lake District and the Peak District and in Scotland and over in the States doing these big races. But actually, the mentality of that, how was it mentally? Was it hard?
Yeah, it's probably the hardest one I've ever done. Definitely the hardest race I've ever done. I made so many mistakes as well, which obviously didn't help with the mindset. I didn't go in there feeling 100% confident as well, so I already let the mind games beat me. And how I got through, I don't know, but I was literally towards, I don't know, when the rain started lashing down. I was pretending to go for quite a few poos just to sit down and get out the rain for 10 minutes. But all that time sort of added up. I had 4 massage treatments, which I didn't need, but it was just another excuse to have another 10 minutes feet up, resting, which again, I lost a lot of time doing a lot of laps. But, it's all good looking back on it now. I know where I went wrong, and if I was to do it again, would I do it differently? Of course. But I was just glad to get through the storm and get to the finish at the end. So it doesn't really matter now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So sort of when both with the red and with the ultra running, with both of those sorts of things, did something in particular inspire you sort of in the media, or did you know someone that was doing something similar, or was it just kind of the natural next step in your journey?
For the red, no one really. I just fell into it. Obviously, I've heard of run streakers, and obviously Dr. Ron Hill is probably the world's most famous run streaker of all time. So obviously, and I know about his story and all that sort of stuff. So run streaking side, nothing inspired me to do it. I didn't see, I fancy doing that. It wasn't a challenge or anything. Like I said earlier, I just fell into it. In regards to the ultra running, it was more a case of I finished my Couch Marathon, London Marathon, and then it was a case of, well, I can run a marathon. What's next? So I sort of fell into the ultra marathon world after that, and that all progressed on from. So the London Marathon was 2010. I ran my first ultra marathon in 2012, and that's it really. From there on onwards, I've been doing stupid and crazy races and adventures ever since.
Yeah, and what is it? What keeps you coming back? What is it that keeps that spark there? Is it the challenge?
No, it's not the challenge. I think best way to describe it, it is a way of self-harming without actually like having scars in your arms and stuff like that. You know, it's a way of causing pain, but there's benefits from it, if that makes sense.
See,
I think
that does make sense to me. To a non-runner, I think they wouldn't really understand that. But go on, carry on.
I think it's because obviously I originally started running because I was 20 stone. I looked like a balloon. I had 1 foot in the grave. I couldn't even run to a bus stop, as the common saying goes. I was outside the Navy. I left the Navy in 2003. I rejoined it in 2010 after I lost all the weight. But I was outside. My civilian life was crumbling around me. I got into severe financial debt, not quite bankruptcy, but not far off it. I got into the world of eating and drinking because I was caught in that vicious circle. My mental health went down the pan. I was still on the edge of the cliff, wanting to throw myself off, literally. And the London Marathon saved my life, physically and mentally. And then from there, that's always been my sort of motivation is bollocks, but that's my go-to thing when I have to remember why I started running in the first place. And then I've got an additional thing now that helps me, which I lost one of my best mates to cancer in 2015. And he's now my guardian angel, and he couldn't run. And during he died he got diagnosed in 2014. He died in 2016, and during 2015, I pretty much ran myself to a level that I could be on with him during his days where he couldn't fight anymore and he was in severe pain. And the only way I could have empathy and sympathy and all that was to break myself through running various events. And now obviously he's passed away. He looks down on me. I talk to him all the time, but he can't run. So I run for him and pretty much anyone else that can't run, really. I go out there and show that the average Joe can do remarkable things. And the only thing that stops us is excuses.
Yeah, do you know what, Owen? I've spoken to quite a few people now on this podcast, and there's so many different whys, and your why is absolutely inspirational, mate. And I think to hear you say that, and for the listeners of this to hear that, you know, people struggle with what their why, and that's absolutely fine. But actually having a why that means something so deep and meaningful to you, and that, you know, you talk about the putting your body through it and that pain and that harm, and just listening to you there, it just absolutely relates to me because, you know, we won't make this about me, but those that have listened to this podcast will have picked up that there's probably similarities that you and I might have from the past, as to why we run and how running maybe saved our lives, especially from a mental health point of view. And both are related to loss. So, you know, I can see that. And my whole running journey is based around loss of two relatives. So, you know, I think I get what you're saying 100%. And I hope those that are listening that perhaps don't get it black and white like we do, hopefully they can understand that running isn't always about the pace and the PBs, right? There's so much more to it, and there's so many more reasons why we head out every day, right?
I think people tend to forget why they start running in the first place when they start thinking PBs and medals or T-shirts or what have you are the be-all or end-all. I pretty much guarantee most people didn't start running for medals or PBs or anything. They pretty much started for a reason. Normally, for instance, you'll hear, oh, they started because they did a race for life, 5K, to raise money for cancer because their mum or something had breast cancer. You know, that's
Yeah, yeah.
That's the story. Or they were fat like me. So
yeah, that was me. I was fat. I was one of those.
yeah. So unless I think you'll get maybe I've ran all my life through school, all that sort of stuff. Fair enough. That you will get that, but the majority of people who enter running in their later years normally have a story behind it. I reckon pretty much 90%. It's just a number that I'm pulling off the top of my head. 90% of ultra runners have a story behind why they run ultras, and most of it's mental health or eating disorders, or they're fat, or they used to drink or do drugs or something. Most of us have got stories, and I think the more we start telling them, the more people can relate. The more people can relate, maybe we may change somebody's life for the better.
Yeah, no, I think, I was asked by a couple of people that I work closely with, why have I started this podcast? And this podcast is that platform. It's there to share stories. I'll have a network that don't know you, but they'll be very inspired by your story. And I know from my running club and a couple of very close friends and clients of mine that they're struggling right now with their motivation. And actually just hearing your story is going to help. And I know it will. And I think we need more platforms to share it on, right?
No, definitely. And the whole motivation thing, when people say, "Oh, I've lost my mojo," or that's a load of bollocks. There's no such thing as motivation. If you've lost motivation, your mojo, it's because you're tired or you're lacking in energy. You need to remember why you started running in the first place. It's as simple as that. Write it down on a piece of paper, slap it on the fridge, so you can go to it and go, yes, I used to be a fat bastard. That's right. Let's go get my shoes on. I don't want to end up back there again. Keep a picture on the phone. I got a picture on my phone that constantly reminds me of where I was. Just remember why you started in the first place, and it'd be amazing how that mojo comes back. People talk about they lose their mojo after a marathon. Why? Because they're tired. They just stopped. They're tired. They're lacking the energy. That 16 weeks of training with that final 26 miles where they maybe laid it all out on the tarmac for 26 miles or on the trails for 26 miles, and then they've just sat down. That's the energy expelling, and they're tired. They don't want to go for a run.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. I totally agree.
Motivation is not a thing. As soon as you can change your idea about motivation, sooner you can, get up and go again.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. What you said about mojo there, that is true. It's that lack of energy for, having anything left. You've probably left it all out there on the tarmac and, all the trails, like you say. And yeah, I think actually remembering your why and remembering where you come from and what you're doing it for, like you say, I think that's really sound advice, and something I'm going to draw on myself as well. I'm not going to sit here and interview you.
You've done red, so all right. You've done 400 odd days, which is over a year. So a lot of people don't even get that far. They struggle with a month. So it's a big thing. So you should not obviously reduce your 400 odd days, to anything but remarkable. But if we tap back into red, because I go for a run the next day, be it slow, be it not very pretty, or it's not sexy pace. It's that I'm out there. I've gone. My body's being mobile. We're designed to be mobile.
Yeah.
That energy level that is starting to build up again. Even if you go for a walk the next day after a marathon, or a light cycle, just getting out of the house, going for that walk, that if you want to put jog or a cycle, that will automatically help those energy levels and that tiredness, and you'll start to feel better again, and then you'll be, oh, I feel good now. Let's start looking for another event and start ramping up again, you know. And that's where people, they sit down too long in their butts after a marathon. They go, I haven't run for weeks, you know. They haven't done anything. You know, they just literally plop down. Their body's gone. See you later, and allowed it to do it. So, you know, whether you run every day or not, I'm a big advocate for getting out the next day or maybe the day after, you know, and being active in some way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, brilliant. Love that. Sound advice, I think. And I think, you know, you got the proof in the pudding. You're doing it, and it's inspirational to watch. And, you know, approaching 1,000 days now. I mean, what an achievement that is. That's going to be awesome. And
yeah, people say, you know, people ask me, you know, do you just go for the run for the sake of it? No, all my runs have a purpose. Even the easy recovery runs, they have a purpose, and that's what whenever you go for a run, it should have a purpose. The main purpose is to have fun and enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, people forget that they think they should be training hard all the time when they do go for a run. So they'll run 3 or 4 times a week, and each one of them are fast, hard runs or hill runs or whatever, and a long run, and they forget about the easy, fun parts of it. You know, and that's why people struggle. You know, with injuries and stuff like that. It's because they don't let the body enjoy the art of moving. And you'll never see me run the same run exactly the same every time. Occasionally the routes might look the same, but I'll probably divert. If it's a tarmac route, then I may divert down a different side road or something just to make it different, or run it in reverse, wear something different, listen to something different, weather's something different. I've got the dog, I've got my son, I've got both, I've got no one, I've got friends. Every run is different. I'm out on the trails. You know, something about that run is different, which means it's fresh. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it.
If you're doing the same thing every time, you get bored. Again, your body gets tired, it gets bored. You know, if you're doing something wrong, you're not going to enjoy it. So if you're not going to enjoy it, you're not going to have the motivation to go out. You know, it's all these things, you know, that you can look at and to why you struggle to lace those shoes up in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, no, love it. So for you, during your kind of ultra experiences so far, what's kind of your worst experience that you've had, or the biggest learn?
So my first ultra was probably the biggest learning curve. I DNF'd after 40 miles on the wall race in the rat race, the wall.
Yeah, Hadrian's Wall. Yeah,
it was 2012, so it was the first one they ever did, and started off. It absolutely hammered it down in Carlisle overnight. You know, the first half of the course was flooded, knee deep in water, pretty much all for the first half. And I had all the gear, but no idea. I changed my shoes. I didn't eat properly because I didn't train my gut to eat, so I didn't feel hungry. And I wasn't mentally strong enough. When you look back up most of the DNFs, pretty much most of my DNFs, if I've had a DNF, it's because I wasn't mentally strong enough to finish. You know, the aches and pains and stuff, most of the time, majority of the time, I'd say 80, 90% of the time, you can probably fight through and finish, unless you've like snapped a muscle or you've broken a bone or something. Most of the niggles and biggles on an ultra marathon, you can fight through. You know, you just have to be mentally strong enough to finish. And that was the case with my first one. I wasn't, you know, so when I was, you know, approaching the 40-mile mark and I was feeling every stone from my shoe, which I didn't change my shoes, so they were still soaking wet. My socks are still wet. all that was playing on my mind, that I was by myself and on tarmac. I was like, it just, mentally screwed me up. And I was like, it's not good. And when I look back on it now, after all I've learned and stuff, it's because I was mentally a pussy on that one. And pretty much, I've had a few DNFs, not many, but I've had a handful. It's because I wasn't mentally strong enough at the end of the day. It's as simple as that. So,
there's a few things there that are similar to my DNF actually back in 2016, around the mental side and even some of the physical stuff where you didn't change changing your shoes and socks and things. Like, actually, when you haven't done ultra running, you don't really know that, do you?
No, I mean, back then as well, there wasn't a lot of information out there either. I mean, obviously, Facebook had been out a few years, but Strava wasn't out then. I didn't have a. I had a Garmin watch, but it was one that you had to plug into your laptop to sync. There was no app; it was through the website. So, there's not a lot of information to go and procrastinate about. I didn't know many people in that field either back then.
Yeah.
So it's not like I could just ask someone. I didn't join a running club until 2014. So I didn't really know anyone in the running world properly until about that sort of time. Everything was through trial and error. I'm reading the Daily Mail of running magazines, the running world. It's obviously a bad mistake, really.
I think you'll probably agree then that the ultra world, it's true for the running world as well, but the ultra world is massively accelerating at the moment.
Oh, big time. Big time.
I don't want to take anything away from anyone, because in my running club, we've got lots of couch to 5Kers and people that have never ran. And of course, we were there once upon a time. So we know exactly how they feel. But without taking anything away from those people, a marathon now just isn't going to cut it, is it, for the public?
It's well, especially if you're trying to raise money. I remember when I got the London Marathon place, I thought, you know what, I'll use my place to raise money, because I don't have a limit then. I have to raise 2.5, even if I just raised the quid, I raised a few thousand. I thought, that's great. So when I entered my ultra marathon, I thought, you know what, I'll raise some more money here. I've gone harder, bigger here. And I didn't raise hardly as much. No one really knew about ultras and stuff back then, But now, when I hear you run a marathon, you're part of the 1% club. Is it really that anymore? It's got to be more than one, but it's got to be at least 2% now club. The amount of people that run a marathon, and the ultra world is not far behind it now. Because of social media, because of great documentaries that are out now, with the likes of Killian Jornet and Damien Hall and all that sort of stuff. There's fantastic docs out there. People are watching YouTube more. People are listening to podcasts more. And then they're going, you know what? That sounds like my cup of tea. I fancy drinking a Guinness halfway through a race and having pizza and a chili and stuff like that. And not, I reckon I could do 8 hours instead of trying to bust my ass for 2.5. You know what I mean? So it is starting to be more, what's the word? It's trying to be a bit more, I suppose it's inclusive. It's probably where I'm no longer the odd crazy person out there. A lot of people are towing the line of ultramarathons, and the fact that they're seeing the trail and ultra world community as this super friendly community compared to other communities in the running world. They
totally agree.
I
completely agree.
There's less elitism, there's less egos. I mean, I'm not saying you don't have it in the ultra world and trail world, but there's less of it. Everyone that if you want to ask for advice, you can ask. You can pretty much message most ultra marathon runners in around the world, be it in America or what have you, and I guarantee they'll reply.
Yeah.
They'll give you an answer if you ask them a question. You try asking some of the elite marathon runners in the world, Mo Farah or anything, I bet you don't get a reply.
Yeah, no, I agree. I completely agree. I think, yeah, that's something that is something that's come up time and time again in conversations here on the podcast and sort of out there in the world. And I went to the running show just before the pandemic and spent the whole day in the ultra running area. I was just in there the whole day.
It was massive. You know, it was bigger than I thought it was going to be. You know, I thought, it's only going to be like maybe 10, 20 people watching the talkers at a time. Like, no, it's packed out. Packed out.
Yeah, I mean,
the running show underestimated the popularity of that stage. You know?
Yeah, and I understand. The way I understand it is that had it have gone ahead in 2021 at the NEC at the beginning of the year, which it didn't, they were doubling the size of the area and the stage was being a big stage. So, and the seating and everything. So, you know, I think we'll see in the future years. I'm excited for it, definitely. So, so let's ask you a few quick fire questions to finish this off. This has been fascinating talking to you. Actually, I've really enjoyed it, and understanding your why as well is, you know, just everything I've seen on your social media of your run streak. Now you've told me more. It just sounds, you know, even more epic, and I get why you're doing it now even more than I did before. So, in your kind of ultra marathon experiences, what would you say is your biggest high that you've had?
Coming second in a 36-hour race.
Nice.
Nice. Same format as that sort of the one I did the other weekend. Same rules. Same course. Well, not the same course, but similar sort of theme of the course. It was a mile lap though, but it was a half mile out, half mile back lap. Much more beautiful scenery though, but it just as mentally and physically, it was flat as well, so it was mentally and physically draining. But the fact that I achieved more than just a finish was beyond what I expected. And it's probably that I've got a few highs, but that's got to be just up there in races highs.
Yeah. No, fair enough. And out of every race you've done, you got a favourite?
Well, that one, the Madness King George 36, that's probably up there. But out of race-wise, probably there's two. So I love being involved, and I loved, even though I DNF'd the Arc of Attrition 100 miler.
Yeah.
It's such a fantastic event, and it's so big on the global scale now. It's really good to be part of that. And the other one is a local race to me. It's a 24-hour race. It's for everyone. It's a charity race. It raises, all the profits go to charity. Started off really small. It's now really popular. It's the Hope Trail Festival. They have a 12-hour. They've got a 24-hour, and now they got a 36-hour race for next year. Down here in Plymouth, off-road, 5-mile laps. Do as much or as little as you want. There's beer tents, there's food, there's everything there, and the atmosphere is amazing. And, you know, it's probably one of the cheapest 24-hour events you can do as well. And it goes to charity.
Nice. And then final sort of question around that. Do you have a bucket list race? Is there one or two races that you've got on that bucket list?
Yeah, loads. It's a big bucket, Neil, massive bucket. So I would like to do a race in the UTMB series. I could understand why some people wouldn't, but I'd like to do a race, even if it's the smallest race, just to be there, soak up the atmosphere, you know, maybe sprint at the start, just lead the race for about a minute. Don't care. I want to be involved in it somehow.
Yeah.
I think in the UK, probably the Spine.
Yeah.
I'll probably give that a go in the UK. And the other one's probably then either Western States or Leadville 100 in America.
Yeah, I think the Western States and the Leadville, don't ask me why, but this idea of running 50 miles out and then coming back with there being a massive mountain at the end of the 50 miles and then coming back. I don't know what it is, but that to me almost puts it at the top of my bucket list. Probably over Western States, although I would prefer Western States because of its history, I guess, but and its prestige. But yeah, Leadville, love that. You're the first person I've spoke to actually that actually has mentioned Leadville. So it would be good to go there one day and get involved.
Yeah, I think there's a few places in America and in Europe and over here. I know we're part of Europe, but you can put the European racing season separate, really, to the UK. There's a few that I would class as iconic, and some of those I mentioned are they're including the Arc of Our Tradition now is definitely one of the up and coming iconic British races that can get you into UTMB, can get you into the draw for Western States, and it's phenomenal as a race. Full stop.
Yeah, no, absolutely, awesome. So, if you if you were to give you're a couch to ultra runner, that's how you started, or couch to marathon runner, and then you've gone into ultra running. If you were to give someone 3 tips who was looking to get into the ultra running world, what would those sort of tips be?
That's a good question. Normally, you get asked about a beginner running. I find that's a lot easier to answer. For stepping into the ultra world, just find an event that you'll think you'll enjoy the most. Is probably my first tip, because there's no point in entering a 50K if you're comfortable at a marathon and think you won't have many issues racing it. Find one that you'll probably get more enjoyment out, because mostly you do the ultras for the challenge and stuff like that, and if there's no challenge, then there's no chance of failure. It's got to be a chance of failure for it to be a challenge. So find one that you're going to have an enjoyment out of. Is it a 50K that's maybe more technical than it's another 50K? Is it a 50 miler that's over the South Downs, over Dartmoor or something that's going to have views and make those memories that your first ultra marathon is probably you're gonna remember for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Even though mine was a DNF, I can't forget it. So that's the first one. Find one you're going to enjoy the most. Do a lot of research. Find it. Enjoy it. Second one, find food that you're going to enjoy. Don't be scared of eating, because you need to eat before you need to eat. As Gary House says, eat before you need to eat, walk before you need to walk, drink before you need to drink, shit before you need to shit. That's exactly it. Find the foods that you can stomach while moving. Make the most of the food. Don't be scared of having a Guinness. Because I find having a Guinness halfway through a race replaces your iron, and it tastes good as well, and it makes you look cool that you're drinking. So make sure you practice with all the foods and find the foods that you're going to love, be it cheese or pizza or what have you, because at the end of the day, they're more likely going to fuel you better, and that's what they're going to have pretty much at the aid stations, isn't it? Real food,
Yeah, real food.
So find foods that you like and that works. And finally, just take lots of pictures of your journey. People don't do it enough, in my opinion. Especially on your long runs, when you're doing them over your long route and it's miles away and maybe over some mountains in the lakes or the Snowdonia, or you're over the South Downs or something. Just take pictures, the memories of your training adventure and all that sort of stuff. Because if you don't, you're going to forget all this sort of stuff, isn't it? You're going to, but if you've got pictures, you go, I remember that. It was a fucking glorious day. Some dog tried to attack me. I almost got killed by a cow. All that sort of stuff. So take pictures. Take loads of them. Don't be scared of taking pictures. Unless you're looking at becoming an elite, what stopping? It's a good excuse to pause for a minute, take it in, and
Yeah, I love that. I love that tip. That third one's really cool. No one said anything like that before, and that resonates. That is a good point. I would vouch for that. Wouldn't thought of it too much myself, but actually, now you say it, yeah.
I see it a lot. People, you see it on, quite across the social media, slating people that take selfies on the run and stuff like that. But it means they're getting out there. They're doing it, and for me, my pictures. I mean, you follow me on Insta. My pictures, I try and take a picture that reflects the run. All right,
Yeah.
so it shows that I've, what I've achieved, what I've done, what the conditions were like, who I was with, all that sort of stuff. And at the end of the day, it's my memories. I don't give a shit if no one likes it. It's my memories. As long as I like it, that's all that matters. And when you look back at your Facebook memories, or you look back at your Instagram and stuff like that, you go, oh yeah, I remember that run. That was a really, really good run. It was. I haven't spoken to him in a while. I'm going to send a message if he wants to go for a run. It's just great stuff that you'll forget if you don't do shit like that.
Yeah, no, I love that. Love that. Great advice, Owen. Love it. So that was awesome. I'm personally going to look forward to following the rest of this journey that you're on, and I'll be keeping a close eye on it as well. Where can people sort of find you if they want to look and follow themselves?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I'm a social media whore, so you can pretty much find me on most platforms. You can find me on TikTok if you're into that stuff. Instagram is my main sort of area that I do most of my stuff in my Insta stories and all that sort of stuff. I've got a Facebook page, I've got a website, and obviously I've got a podcast. So if you look for ultra running Matlow on Google, you'll find my website. Obviously Facebook, you'll find that. Instagram, it's ultra_run_ Matlow. Spelt mate lot. It's French for sailor. That's why we're called Matlows. And TikTok's ultra running Matlow. And the podcast is If My Feet Could Talk.
Excellent. Love it. So thanks for coming on the show, Owen. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for inviting me, Neil. Much appreciated. I love talking.
Yeah, no, it's been great.
It's been great. About running. It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it as well. Yeah. So, guys, if you enjoyed the show, do remember to give us a rating and a little comment in there as well. Don't forget to follow Owen, and don't forget to share it onto someone who you think might find it useful, because there's plenty of people out there, guys, that will listen to Owen's story there that will be able to either A, relate, or B, get something from it. So I hope you've all enjoyed yourselves, and I hope we can meet here again to discuss more on the Ultra Running Podcast with me, Coach Marshy.
Thank you very much.